I was the only photographer in Calexico for some 50 years almost, and took the school pictures for about 50 years. And at one time, just about everybody in the dog knew me because the town was small, and they'd see me and they'd find out. And, hi, Pete. And I didn't know who they were, a lot of them, you know. I can feel, I can see where the poor celebrity gets no rest. Because I was no celebrity, they just knew who I was. I remember a prize-winning picture that I took of Arusa. I don't have a copy of it. I gave it to Nicky, my nephew, and I don't know what the devil he did with it. And you want to see it? I've got it. It came out in a magazine many years ago. First prize. Let me. Supposed to be right here somewhere. By the way, I have a first copy of Popular Photography magazine, 1937. That's out in the garage in an envelope. Or you can follow me out there. Now, the garage may seem a mess, but everything's on the computer. So, everything's computerized, and I hit the computer and I know where things are. Let's see. I saw it. I saw. Old bulletins, Lions bulletins, Popular. Here we go. This dust on the covers is to discourage thieves. They see dust and it says probably no good. Nobody's. So I purposely sprinkled the dust. See. Oh, what do you know? These are some old photographs of San Francisco Bay, the Cliff House. And the city was asking for these. They're taken from Mexico, looking north into Calexico. Some of the old buildings don't exist anymore. This is the old crossing of the line. This is taken from the Hotel del Norte. Not that one. This is the new high school. Oh, Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda came down. She came down when, on some, I don't know, some politics. And she was in the park and I sat talking to her, and then first thing you know, I just took a shot of her. Jane Fonda. And let's see, what else is here? More darkroom lights. Oh, here we go. Here we go. First issue, May 1937, Popular Photography, and its anniversary. Wonder what it's worth. Microphotography for the amateur. It's a fast action with a miniature. These are bullfights, all bullfights. Took an awful lot of them. And Cavalcade 1951, children's parades, assorted Algodonera del Valle, that's a ginning, Baptist Church, Bank, Boy Scout Home, A&P Building, baseball, the Mexicali inauguration of the baseball team, airport in Calexico, President Aleman dedicating a dam, Águilas de Mexicali, Gene Autry when he came down here for the March of Dimes in 1951. He just died not too long ago. And that's about it, horsing around. The good old days, the fun days. I started with no teachers, no nothing, and nobody across the line to teach me, because the photographers over there were worse or just as bad. But I began to see pictures like Hurrell and so forth. How did they do this? And I remember Schwartz, when a salesman came in one day, I think I told you about this, and he looked around, you know, and he said, you know, Pete, you take some of the worst pictures I've ever seen. And I didn't mind it. I didn't get upset. I kind of realized it. Then he told me what this, light, and I'm listening. And little by little, I wanted to know how they did this and asking questions. And I would say to young fellows that are in photography to ask questions and see how did they do this. Most of them don't. You know, when I was doing the annual work, now and then a young fellow would come in and say, I like photography, Mr. Padilla. Says, and first I'd ask him, can I work for you? Can you teach me or something like that? And first I'd ask him what kind of camera he had and so forth. Yeah, then I said, come into the dark room, I'm busy right now. And while talking to him, what class are you in, etc., I'd go to the enlarger and I'd turn it on, and then I'd focus, you know, still talking, and then I'd go, Then I turn around, aren't you going to ask what I did? You're not asking, you're just looking, but you're not learning. You should have asked what I was doing. I was doing nothing, just to see what you would say. And they smiled, and that fellow, forget him. Because I said, well, I'll let you know, you know. And it's the inquisitive one, you got to ask. I had to learn something that they never published, anticipating the action. Now, the speed graphic was almost 3 days when you pulled the trigger back there on the speed. It was almost about 3 days later that the shutter came. That lapse of time, you know, so you want to catch a guy sliding into home, you had to figure out a split second before he got to home to pull that thing, because there was an element of time which you figured by the time the guy hit home, that's when the picture was taken. If you did it when he hit home, it was too late. The picture that came out was he almost getting up. Same way with bullfights, you know. I remember to get the pictures of a bullfighter put in the name, what you call it here? The banderillas. That's where you snap the picture. as you went like this, you clicked, and then they come out. See, fellows would stop by and said, "What are you doing here in Calexico?" Yeah, my hometown. I enjoy it. Why? Says your work is too good for the town. And in other words, if I went to San Diego or Los Angeles in richer communities, and I knew the average work that was going on in a lot of studios, I'd look in the windows and say, my God, I'd make a fortune here, you know, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. When I was talking about bigotry, it exists everywhere. Jealousy, envy, or whatnot. And I recall later on that certain families here never came to me for a photograph. Why? I guess like saying, well, we're going to give him more business and that'll make him bigger, you know, bigger in what? Now, one jump ahead of the creditors all the time, but they just wouldn't. And I never could figure that out. And in Mexicali, the Mexicans themselves, they don't seem to, they still don't help each other. I try to figure it out because there are hundreds of tribes, and they probably, the old story, you know, you're from Texas, I ain't gonna help you. Don't help the Texans, the Arkansas don't help the Texans, the Californians don't want to help anybody in Arizona. Salute. A broken down philosopher.
Whenever you're...
Dear sir, to the editor of the Imperial Valley Press, 1980, November 13. I refer to Rene Martin's letter printed November 4th. The only reason I speak fluent English is because when I was in grade school here in Calexico, especially in the 6th to 8th grade, if one was caught speaking Spanish, you either got a 0 in citizenship on your report card, stayed after school, or got whacked across the hand. For this, I will be eternally thankful because the older I get, the more I realize how difficult the English language is. I disagree with Miss Martin that we were being inculcated that any other language other than English was inferior. The idea was to have us learn English, and English we learn. No one's self-esteem was undermined, as Miss Martin says. And as Miss Martin continues, the school principal and teachers used the ways of the slave overseer against the Mexican children for speaking Spanish when you were not supposed to. Then, my mother, may she rest in peace, also used the ways of the slave overseer when she whacked me across the mouth for using foul language. This was not, as Miss Martin says, violence begetting violence. This was just plain old-fashioned discipline, something that is becoming a rarity in our schools these days. The teachers and system had rules and regulations. Teachers were respected, and these rules and regulations obeyed or else. Teachers didn't put up with shenanigans in class or on the grounds. One of Calexico's highly beloved and respected English teachers was the late Mrs. Kennedy, 7th and 8th grade. Mrs. Kennedy didn't tolerate any horse around her class and would let you know this in a quiet voice while slowly attempting to yank your hair out with a slow twist to the right and then to the left. One immediately got the message. For efforts exceeding the boundaries of normal school spirit, the student was sent to the office where his sensibilities in the area of his posterior were directly attended to with a short piece of sturdy hose, manufactured by Goodrich, as I recalled. In high school, if a student after due time was observed to be making no effort to study or learn and seemed to be just taking up space, he was sent home and his parents were advised to kindly keep him there permanently. The system then did not, as Miss Martin says, produce people illiterate in 2 languages and with inferiority complexes. On the contrary, it produced people speaking 2 languages fluently, and I would be very happy to introduce anyone to them. They are around here. From ordinary people to multi-million-dollar capitalists, Mexicans, Americans, blacks, Japanese, Chinese, etc. I hope my grammar and punctuation in this letter is not criticized like Mrs. Munger's letter. I want everyone to know right now, I don't know whether some of the verbs have moods. They have shifted around from the indicative to the passive diagonally to the laxative, or if any group of words is a subordinate clause or Santa Claus. I think that what counts is that those reading this will understand it. I don't mean it to be an entry in a punctuation and grammar contest at Oxford University. Sincerely, Pedro P. Padilla. And this other one was to the Imperial Valley Press. I thoroughly agree with J. Park's letter on illegals. J. Park's thoughts are exactly the same thoughts the Indians had in 1620 when they saw this Mayflower ship loaded with illegal pilgrims approach their country and dump all these illegals on the shores. Millions of other illegals followed soon afterwards, some like the blacks against their will and in chains to boot. The only difference then was that these illegals robbed the Indians of the land and beat and killed most of them. Since this horde of illegals couldn't deport the Indians from their own country, they rounded up those still living and put them in great big outdoor jails called reservations. And for the black illegals, the white illegals sold them as slaves. Now time passed, and one day all these illegals, quite satisfied with a job well done and having nothing better to do, dusted their wings, adjusted their halos, and settled down to building our great nation, called themselves legal, and declared anyone coming into now their land illegally and was a criminal, and that's that, period. Now, which one of you wants to throw the first stone? Yeah, that's enough. George Gabby Hayes, 1946. I remember this just right after the war. What he was doing down here, I think he was hunting. I took his picture. It's a big 16 by 20, but here's the negatives. Yeah, George Gabby Hayes. He's pretty likable, you know. He said, just a minute, and he took out his false teeth and went in post for me. This was a St. Patrick's Queen. Couldn't get her to smile right. It's tickly. So, this is the picture that I enjoyed. I had a big picture now. I had a sign under there specializing in children's pictures, you know. This is Gordy, the fellow I talked to last night, the boss of this fellow. This is Chachita, and this is Nicky. He was a later assistant to the dean of Stanford for many years and is now with the Edison Company or something. Look, he kept that pose all the time. This one waiting. This is Anthony Dexter, who played the role of Rudolph Valentino in a picture about Valentino around 1946-47. And I took his picture for publicity. A very likable fellow, very quiet. He enjoyed this picture very much. Good old Robert Mitchum. Partied with him one night at the Piazza. He and his wife, Lou and I, and halfway around 10 o'clock at night, we were feeling pretty good. I said, let's go take your picture. You want to? Yeah, let's go. And we told the wives, we'll be right back. We hopped in the car, drove down 3 blocks, turned on the lights, loaded the film. He sat down, took some pictures of him, which was easy because he's professional. And there he is, go Robert Mitchum. These were gals that had come down for courses during Prohibition. No, no, no. It's after Prohibition. There's a lot of Showtime, what they call Showtime in Mexicali. Chorus girls, singers. This fellow is a man. He's a 19-year-old. What do they call it? What fascinated me was that leg on him and that body. When I was taking this picture, it was pretty hard to say whether I call him Mr. or Miss or what. It got confusing. This is the same fellow. This is a Spanish dancer. She and her husband, very temperamental when they dance. They cuss each other out, one thing and another. We became very good friends. Victor Jory, the Victor Jory. Another one of the girls that came down for the Showtime. That's my dad, my papa. Friend of ours, local Victor. This is a fellow dressed in that lion's outfit. Another gal, Jimmy Roberts. Another local gal. And another one. And another one. These were the glamour shots, you know, that I enjoyed making, patterned after George Hurrell of Hollywood, the famous Governor Earl Warren of California, later the Supreme Court Justice of the United States. Very fine person, very down to earth, happily posed for me. Stills or stock shots. This is Anita and Manolo. Another one of the beauties. I wonder where she dressed. I didn't have a dressing room. I guess I just turned my back. A lot of willpower. Another. I would charge about $35 for a dozen in those days. And Los Angeles, Hollywood wanted about $150 for the same thing. The same, the same Anita and Manolo. Glossy stills. This is the famous Tongolele. You know, I photographed her when she was a nobody. And she went on to Mexico to be the highest paid star Mexico or Latin America ever had. She danced. And my older brother got to know her very well. In fact, she had twins. And the story goes that the father was my older brother. She went as Tongolele, but was actually born in the state of Washington. Anyway, I have a picture of her in color like this, and I had it in the studio. And she came back when she was worth millions of pesos, millions. And stared at it and stared at the picture, I guess hoping for me to say, you can have it. But she never paid for none of this. The least you could expect was to say, look how much. Nah. And I didn't budge. I said, nah. This is my brother Reuben, when he aspired to be an actor. Poor fellow, but he just didn't know how to act. There's my brother Reuben. He played the part of a Mexican bandit in the Hawk or something. They showed on TV, but they leave that part out, except for a little flashing part. So he said, take a picture of me. And I did, and I put that light under them, you know, makes them eerie and criminal-like. Then I put it in the window, and he got mad. He says, what do you want to take a picture like that? Well, what the hell is that? The part you're playing in the movies? Anyways, such is life. John Wayne at a house party here, my wife Lou. We partied with him 2-3 times. A hell of a nice, easygoing guy, you know. Here he is in the Alamo with Reuben, my brother. He wound up being General Santana. John Wayne was 6'4", 4.5, I think. Ruben was 6'3", and they became very good friends. When the picture of the Alamo had the premiere in Calexico, there's a marquee, Ruben Padilla and John Wayne in the Alamo. The whole town was in this. He comes in at the last moment for about half a second, you know, the house broke down, and there's a copy of a letter. His son has most of this stuff. A letter from John Wayne to my brother says, I could have bought you a sweater that wouldn't fit, a pair of pants too big in the crotch, a pair of shoes too small, or a hat with the wrong brim. The hell with it. Buy yourself something. And thank you for being so cooperative and gracious whenever called upon. Affectionately, Duke. So apparently must have sent him some money. There's my brother now as Santana. General Santana in the Alamo, incidentally, was a part made for Marlon Brando, a big part. And Marlon Brando couldn't make it for some reason or other, so they turned around and made my brother General Santana. He'd never been on a horse. They propped him up on a horse and made the part about half a minute at the most. But that was an experience. This is Arusa and John Wayne during the filming of the Alamo. And another picture of John Wayne with Ruben, my brother. And John Wayne came down to recover some priced pistols that had been stolen. My brother helped get them back and called them up. They're here. And this at the Calexico Airport. I remember John Wayne seen Ruben and said, Ruben! And that takes care of that. Oh, this is fun time. She was here yesterday. Lives in house parties. This is
Norma?
Yeah.
You saw Norma.
Huh?
You saw
Oh yeah, the girl you met yesterday is this one. About 30 pounds less. This is my niece, and she was the former queen. This is one I told you about my sister, the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And the one she liked. They wanted me to cut her off. I says, I can't do that. This is Sunday going to church until people would stare at us too much and we cut it out. Carlos Arruza, very famous bullfighter. My brother Ruben. This is at Caesar's place in Tijuana with Norma and a niece of my sister's. At gaping, the neighbors. At house parties. Dress up for Halloween parties or carnival parties. Carnaval. This is all house parties. This is Lou, my wife, with a nephew. And just horsing around, having a good time. Titi, she's a war bride. My brother Oscar brought her over from Germany after the war. Titi Kurten, her father had been a Luftwaffe colonel. And she's the one that met this count and countess in some school where they passed out the war outside of the bombing, and then this is inside the living room. How they fit it in there, I don't know, but they're there. I often wonder now how they house parties. And the famous Lou Gutierrez, a lot of fun. House parties. He later became a senator in Mexico. He died, I think, a year ago. Dropped dead. This is Mr. America, and he was the ambassador from, they happened to be in town and were guests at a characters. A lot of fun, a lot of fun. The days of Elvis Presley. Poor man's Elvis Presley. Oh, my brother Reuben. Jose Greco, the poor man's Jose Greco. A Christmas card I used to make till I had to stop it out because everybody in town wanted one, and hell, I was going to go broke. Oh, Chill Wills, and they were waiting for John Wayne. Well, John Wayne got plastered. A party at her brother-in-law's house for some reason or other.
Who's brother-in-law? Who's brother-in-law?
Pedro's house.
Brother's house.
His Halloween parties are at the country club. This is the way they ended up. Now this was posed, but coming to think about it, two of them I think were real life. Mona Lee, you know, even Mona Lee got in the act. She ran the thing.
She was the owner.
That's Richie. You met him. And B, they're both gone. More parties. When we ever worked, well, we hardly didn't. That's why we never amounted to anything. Antonio Moreno, Lou, my wife, Ruben, my brother. This is, what's his name? McLaughlin, Victor McLaughlin Jr. And what's her, Nancy? No, another very well-known movie star at the time. The one you liked very much.
Oh, Ray. Virginia Gray.
Virginia Gray. Virginia Gray. The other one, not too well known. This at the Anza Hotels, Henrietta Denby, the owner of the Hotel the Anza at the time, 1953, I think. John Houston and Lou, my wife. No special occasion. We lived across the street with her. We're very good friends of Henrietta, and every now and then we'd wander across and she'd invite us to dinner or whatnot. This is the fatal dress up that I told you about, where my brother-in-law dressed as red shoes. Hence, she's baby doll, and now as the village idiot, I got a belt tied around my neck, and she was just dumb door. And I was supposed to take wind of on the good ship Lollipop, and she was supposed to sing it, and he was supposed to tippy-toe dance, and everybody was drunk at the country club when we got there, and they started raising his skirts to see what kind of shorts he was wearing, and all in fun, nothing serious. But this is a boyfriend Lou had, and came by trying to make another date with her. And this was a reception in honor of the ambassador from Mexico who was staying here. Not just about anymore. The way they dress now, I got a price then. Times have changed. Yeah, that's about it.
That's when she went to a costume ball. This is she right here. Yeah, she was very pretty. Yeah, this has been in the family since I was a child. That's why I always said that he needed a good bath, because all of us were always hugging him and saying, look at that beautiful face. His eyes even look like they're watery. There. Are you Catholic?
No.
You Christian?
No.
That's all right. You believe in God?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But see what a beautiful face this sculptor made. Can you see almost tears in his eyes?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone in Calexico knows that Peter is very unique. You'll always find him anywhere, having coffee or at City Hall, arguing a point. And he is always right. And I said, he'll go so far as to look up the library for a book to prove that he's right. As a photographer, I'm not saying this because of my brother, he was an excellent photographer, still is, but he's not doing that work anymore. But he was very blunt. There was a time when a couple came in with their 1-year-old child, and they were friends of his also. They said, we want a picture of him here, and when he's 2 years, another one, etc., so he could see the changes. Well, the child was not a pretty little boy, was a 1-year-old. So he told them, he says, frankly, he says, no, he says, you don't want him to grow up and look back and say, was I that ugly? Wait until he blooms. Chances are that by next year, he'll bloom and be a good-looking baby. But another time, there was this woman, a friend of hers, that she wasn't attractive when you looked right at her and all that, but actually, if you got close to her face, she did have pretty features that just didn't stand out. So he took a picture of her, and he retouched it. And when she went to pick it up, she says, "Hi, Peter, this isn't me. No, it's not you. I had to retouch you." Like it. And he was always, he's the best brother that any sister could have. But you're always wrong and he's right. And when he agrees with you on something and he says, you know what, you're right, we worry about him. He's not feeling too well. He's agreed with somebody. But he's a very colorful character in Calexico, very much so, everybody. That's just like Pete. How's Pete doing? Is he still arguing a point and all that? He is he has his personality is very, very unique. But he's great. He really is. And I'm just thrilled to have him as a brother. Something. And you see it? He'll kill me if he knows I'm showing you all this. You're not videotaping it. Don't you dare show him that tape. Don't you.